Hi, thank you everyone. I'm Yilmaz Kiymaz. I'm here to talk to you about my game Sandbox City, which I made in the last 2.5 years as a side project. The reason I wanted to give this talk is to just basically share data with the community. I've been to Indie Treff meetings a few years in the past, and I know quite a few people who are game developers in Hamburg, so I don't know that many indies, but there obviously are some. So I would be happy to share data with you, and if it helps you, then yeah, all the better. And the idea is to encourage basically people to say, look here, I'm not that special, I made a modest success with this thing, you can do it too. That's the whole idea. And during the talk, if you have any questions, feel free to just raise your hand and interrupt. It's no problem, because I don't want to stick to the slides too much. I want to switch to Unity. I want to switch to the figures on Google Play, Apple App Store, etc. So I can just show you everything. A little bit about me. I'm a self-proclaimed Unity expert, in quotes, 8 times Unite conference speaker. I studied interactive media and game development in the United States at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. And then after graduating, I moved to Boston, and I was part of the indie scene there for quite a while. Co-founded a company called Alchemy Labs. Some of you into VR might know it, although I left quite early. They eventually sold to Google. I worked full-time at InnoGames for 3.5 years. That's how I ended up in Hamburg. I was originally born in Istanbul, Turkey, I should say. Turkey, USA, 1 year in Serbia, and now in Germany for about 6 years. Worked in InnoGames as a senior and then an expert Unity developer for 3.5 years, then decided to quit and become self-employed. My main work is freelancing, but I also have side projects such as Sandbox City. So the inspiration for the game came from back when I was really young. I was really into physics-based games like Max Payne 2. Most of you probably know it, but I'll just show a quick clip here to show you what I'm talking about. Whereas back in the day, the kind of physics interactions and ragdolls that you could see back in the day, yeah, it was really impressive for its time, and I kept replaying, like quick saving and replaying sections like this over and over, trying to get the guy to do crazy somersaults and have all kinds of fun. So this was my main inspiration. I wanted to make a game that also had this kind of, cool, satisfying ragdoll physics simulations. It was very over the top, obviously. You could keep shooting at a guy and he would go spinning. But yeah, that's where the inspiration came from. This is probably very hard to see, but I'll just talk over it to explain. This is the development timeline for my game. My first commit of the project was in February 2020, all the way over there. Then I made a first test release on Android in 1st of May 2020, public release 1 month later, then implemented ads into the game in October, switched to Iron Source from Google AdMob. Some of you implementing ads might know these ad mediators. Then in 2021, I added in-app purchases with my 1.0 version. And then a release on iOS in August, then a WebGL release on the web there are some WebGL game portals you might know. The one I went with is Crazy Games. Just a few features. And actually haven't worked on it too much the past few months, got a lot of other things going on, but that's the whole timeline. And I wasn't working, full-time on this game. Maybe I would say if I were to compress it down to full-time work, it was about 4 or 5 months of work in total. Notable features of the game are active ragdoll physics, a traffic system, very rudimentary, LOD system, which is necessary to get the game to run on mobile devices with lots of people moving around with an active ragdoll. Persistent simulation in the sense that the characters in the vehicles that are spawned at the beginning of the game, even if you don't see them, even if you're far away from them, are always simulated. Just because it's actually easier. I didn't want to deal with like despawning them and respawning them and so on and so forth. Compared to other games on mobile, I wanted to provide players with lots of customizable graphics settings, and I wanted to make the game very quick to play. So you launch the game and you're almost immediately playing. That's the idea. I guess I can show you a little bit of the game first. I will run it on my Mac as an iPad app. It's not going to work great, but it's going to be good enough, I think. So as the developer of the game, I should be the first to say it's not something groundbreaking. It's not some amazing game. It's not a complete labor of love. The part that's a labor of love is the physics of it that I really like. And it's a relatively shallow mobile game, but I'm proud of the success it has achieved. What else did I want to say? I don't know. I'll just hit play. So yeah, you just, in the main menu is just the guy sitting there, you click and you start playing. That's the whole idea of being able to play really quickly. And you can run around as this dude, and there's lots of other people running around in the city. There are some zombies that are attacking these people, and there are cars going around. You can change the perspective from third person to first person. So I guess one way I could describe it in really quickly is like it's a mini micro GTA for mobile, for kids in Indonesia and other places. That's where I get most of my players from. You can drive the car around. You can run people over. That's the fun part. I don't know if I can do this with the keyboard. So the app thinks it's running on an iPad, so that's why it's going to be a little bit difficult to run this person over. It's a great thing to do, obviously. And then it defaults into a slow-mo mode where you can kind of really enjoy the ragdoll simulation, and then the slow-mo turns back off. You can turn that off if it annoys you. You can get out of the car anytime and go find some zombies attacking people. You can try to save them. You don't really get too much for it. You get in-game currency that you can spend, and with some later versions I added some guns that you can use in the game. I'll try to run all the way over to the beginning now, to the physical shop. I'm a Unity developer, but I also actually started out thinking that I was going to be an artist, so I have some 3D modeling skills as well. So obviously most of you probably can tell all these assets are from the asset store. Being a single developer, I didn't have the time to make all the assets myself, nor do I have the skill. But I was able to make this physical shop out of a building that existed in this pack and expand it, stretch it, add doors, add hinge joints, and make it into a shop that you can walk into. And then you can buy weapons like an MP5, buy ammo for the weapon, buy a melee weapon that's a baseball bat, and then here are some cash piles that you can buy with, as in-app purchases. And that's pretty much the whole game. As I said, quite not very deep gameplay, but it's enough to entertain quite a few people on mobile, on web, so I'm happy about it. How I started the development is I made a very quick initial prototype. I bought the asset store package, realistic car controller. That's where this asset is from. I bought the Puppet Master package, and that's the active ragdoll system, basically, where you have a ragdoll, but the ragdoll can also blend between animation and physics simulation. So the ragdoll, as it's falling down, can still move its muscles, so to speak. That makes it seem more realistic. It's not anything as crazy complicated as what you would see in the actual GTA games with the Euphoria engine they have, but it's close enough. And this prototype just had basically one script file, slow-mo manager, that made the game and put it into slow motion when you hit the test dummy here, as you saw in the game itself. So I'll quickly pull it up. I accidentally upgraded it all the way to the latest version of Unity when I was checking it out yesterday, but thankfully it still works. Are there any questions so far while Unity is giving me a license error? Okay. Yeah.
You said that you also have like a WebGL release.
Right.
How did it work out for you? Like, does it make sense?
Exactly. I'll talk about that in a bit later, where it actually did make sense. I tried some other things that didn't make sense, but financially as well, it made quite a bit of sense. So I will show you all the figures related to that and what I had to do to get the game running on WebGL. One question over there?
So you said that the assets are pre-built, you made the code, right? So you coded the whole thing.
Right. I mean, I coded a lot of it, the gameplay and everything, but also a lot of the code for the active ragdolls and everything come with the package. So it wasn't all art packages. So the city environment and the characters you see are from art packages that are just models and textures. But some other packages like the realistic car controller, the Puppet Master system, a couple other things are also, systems with code that help you make things happen. So, but the gameplay part of it is what I coded, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? No. I have no idea what's going on with my licenses. Failed to return. Okay. Yeah. Let's try this real quick. Well, okay, so if these instances of Unity don't close out on me because of the invalid license, I should be okay. These are the two later versions that I want to show. I just can't show you the initial prototype, but you can imagine it. It's this car bumping into this dummy and then it falls over. Basically, it proved to me the concept that running people over is fun. That's it. Did I need to make a prototype for that? I don't know, but yeah, I made it. So. And yeah, as I showed in timeline, the first test release came quite soon afterwards. What I added was the character controller, the main character you can run around in, the Polygon City art package, and the pedestrians and the zombies that are running around in the city. There wasn't a traffic system at that point in the game. And then I made the first public release. This was again on Android, where I added the simple main menu. Compared to what I showed you, the UI is a bit more simple. There's like counters for the pedestrians and the zombies that I later took out and so on. But added health to the character, cleaned up the city environment a bit, removed the XXX so that I don't get into any trouble with the App Store review and stuff like this later on. And yeah. So I want to show you a little bit the data from the app stores in case it's interesting to anybody. So here's the timeline since 2020, June 1st or so, all the way to now. This is the traffic data of like how many people actually find the game on the store, on Google Play. What I should say is it's all organic, so I didn't buy any ads, because talking to people I realized, I don't really stand a chance of like, out competing all the ads that are running out there to get users to my game. So I got quite lucky in the sense that I was able to get organic traffic to the App Store pages. I can't tell you exactly how I succeeded in doing that. I mean, my strategy was look on the App Store, find these games that are like, running around in the city, see that they have millions of downloads. Okay, thinking to myself, I can probably make something like that, but a bit better in some aspects. And that's what I tried, to make good screenshots, good description text. I experimented a little bit with App Store optimization of like icon A/B tests that I'll talk about a bit later, but that's about it. So in some sense, I got quite lucky that whatever I came up with has this kind of organic traffic coming into it. You can see it's around like, 800, I think this is installs, if I'm not wrong, around here, up and down a little bit, 1,500 down to 1,000, etc. Here we can see the conversion rate. Once it normalizes, it starts going around to 20%. The visitors, you see the visitors, like 4,600 visitors, 927 acquisitions, 20% conversion rate, basically. I'm also lucky that a lot of players from the United States do play the game, so that's where you would get the most revenue for ads and in-app purchases and so on. A lot of Russian players, Portuguese, Spanish, as I said, Indonesia. I also see that a lot when I go on YouTube. You see 10-year-old kids uploading 5 frames per second videos of your game, trying to get views on their Let's Play channel, quite cute. So yeah. And I also have the App Store Connect over here of the whole timeline. I released it on iOS later, August 1st, 2021, and it says 14 million impressions, 5% conversion rate, number of downloads. So it's 344K on iOS. I think it should be like 700,000 on Google Play. For some reason, I really want to hit the 1 million mark. I want to have made a game that got downloaded 1 million times on Google Play. I don't know why. Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the download data. I'll talk about the revenue data, I think, a little bit later. Yeah, implementing ads. I mean, I don't like ad-based games, but I'm a father, so I'm practical. And I said, if I make a mobile game and lots of people play it, if I put ads, I'll earn some money. That's the whole thought process that went into it. Of course, you can purchase an in-app purchase to disable the ads so you don't, see them. But the way I implemented is banner ads at the bottom of the screen, interstitial ads when the player dies, which is actually quite rare, and rewarded ads that you can trigger yourself to get additional in-game currency or ammo. That's the idea. And as for in-app purchases, I could actually probably show it from here. I mean, you saw the piles of money that I talked about earlier, but I also added a UI-based shop where you can buy different player skins. And lots of people, kids, want to buy the police skin because they think it's cool, and also the police skin for the car. Even though they have absolutely no additional features, it's just a skin, but they like to run around as a police. And you can buy, yeah, ammo and the money piles. That's basically it. Nothing too complicated. My thinking is if I even add more bigger price points for larger cashbacks, it would probably even bring in more revenue, but I didn't bother, to be honest. Yeah. I tried out the Unity distribution portal. Some of you might know it. It's for reaching app stores that are not the big ones like, you know, Google Play, iOS App Store. There's like Samsung Galaxy Store, there's Amazon's own store, there's other Chinese, Korean stores that you can reach out to or get your game on with the Unity distribution portal. But for me, it turned out to be a lot of hassle, lots of documentation you have to fill out, forms you have to fill out. And then I tried to like get it on 8 stores and then only got approved for 2, and then of those 2, I got no downloads, basically. It's like very opaque procedure. Maybe for some people it has worked, but just in my context, it hasn't worked out, the Unity distribution portal, so I tried for a month and got nothing for it, basically. However, reporting and publishing to WebGL work quite surprisingly well. So initially I made some attempt, okay, what if I just made the game run in the browser, and it ran quite terribly before I did a lot of optimizations. But, WebGL specific stuff, fixing things that broke on WebGL was relatively easy. It was just like 5-10 commits that I made, and it turned out to be financially worthwhile. So I can show you the revenue data now to explain. Yeah, I published on Crazy Games. It's a WebGL portal. There's, I think, a more popular one called Pokey, but I did talk to them, but they were a bit more, how to say, had more requirements to get on there. So I went with these guys instead, and yeah, published the game on there. Anytime I updated the game on mobile, I updated on WebGL. Added a few WebGL specific things like unlocking the cursor and on-screen prompts for the key bindings and so on. But yeah, so over 1 million players, average playtime 10 minutes, and then revenue of close to 8,000. Over how much time? Let's see. I want to say 1.5 years or something like that. I had my timeline over here. Yeah, WebGL release December 2022, so almost 1 year, not quite. So it's not bad for doing a little bit of work and publishing the game on WebGL. If you have a game that you could conceive of doing that, then it could be worthwhile. As for other revenue data this is the ad mediation network, Iron Source, and throughout the whole, well, it doesn't show the total. It does show the total. Yeah, around 17,000 revenue for ads. Most of it from banner ads, actually, because I have the banner ad showing all the time and it's rotating, and anytime someone clicks on it, it generates revenue. Interstitial and rewarded ads, not so much. And obviously, iOS brings in better ad revenue than Android. It's quite well known from people who deal with this. And on Google Play, the in-app purchase revenue is here. This total is just 1,200 or so, and you can see which ones are earning more. Like the extra large money pile earns the most, obviously. Nothing too interesting here, but yeah, I think it was one of the car skins. So car skin 6 is the police skin, and you can see it's 100 euros versus compares to 30, 40 euros of the other ones. Yeah, I can talk a little bit about the optimizations that I had to do. So obviously you use the Unity profiler when you're optimizing your game for most of the stuff, but for really detailed profiling, I recommend using, if you're publishing to iOS, you have to use a Mac, Xcode, etc., and you can use instruments on Mac to profile the game to see, okay, what's taking up frame time, and then you can really dig down into some stuff. One thing that really is an easy thing to fix is anytime you're accessing components on other game objects, get component, transform, blah, blah, blah. If you're doing it every frame, if you're doing it on 10, 20, 30 game objects all the time, then you just cache it. Get it once and cache it. Simple thing. And for example, in the game, I spawn 40 characters and 10 cars, 10 vehicles. And when you have that many of them, they all have a bunch of mono behaviors on them. So obviously, optimizing those mono behaviors on objects that are many in the game is going to help. It's not that complicated. And yeah, I had to optimize a lot of the third-party packages that I use. So the realistic car controller, the Puppet Master package, once I profiled it in instruments, then I could see specific hotspots of like, okay, what's taking up a lot of time, and then going backwards and saying, am I really using this feature of this package? And if not, then can I just turn it off and save a bunch of performance? But figuring that out in code that you haven't written yourself is quite painful. I tried leveraging other freelancers, so I got a video trailer made for the game, which maybe I can show you. I found a video trailer maker on Fiverr. Of course, it didn't cost €5. It costed a lot more, I think close to 100 or something euros, but it was actually quite worth it. So having a video on the App Store page that people can quickly watch to get an idea of the features in the game. It's overselling the game a bit, as you can tell from the text, but is quite good. So that turned out to be a good investment, actually, to get a trailer made for the game. I tried to get additional developers from Upwork. I went not with like super experienced, super competent developers charging €100 an hour from Europe or US, but went with the cheaper ones, tried to really filter down and find the right people. It kind of worked a little bit. I got a couple developers to implement grenades in the game and taxi functionality where you can drive people around and earn some money. But it turned out to be a lot of hassle to explain create those tasks, explain it to them, review their results, fix certain things. I mean, I could have just made it myself at the end of it, but I was at the time overwhelmed and lacking some motivation to work on the game, so I thought I could outsource some work to some other freelancers. Worked a little bit. And App Store optimization, I tried to get an expert on App Store, the page optimization, the description, the icon, etc., to boost my organic traffic, but that didn't really work out. I tried 2 people, didn't get good results. I ran the experiments for a while. Didn't work. But doesn't mean it can't work, it's just my experience. The lessons I learned, I guess, working on this game is keeping complexity low. So in the code, especially, like working at InnoGames previously, it was all about like enterprise level architecture, dependency injection, this and that, all this stuff. And working on my own game, I tried not to fall into that trap of like, okay, make everything over architected and try to make it as simple as possible. So, a few singletons here and there, it doesn't hurt if it's your code base, if you know how it works. So that's what I tried to do. It worked out well for me. I was able to iterate on it quickly, and I released early, even though I knew, okay, it's barely playable, but I will release it to get some feedback from players, and I often updated it, which helped quite a bit. Running the ASO experiments myself for the app icons actually worked quite well. I had a pretty shitty app icon in the beginning, then I made the classic huge face making an expression app icon, and that actually converted people a lot more. And as I said, the game is not super deep at all, but a couple fun mechanics that I have in there, such as the ragdoll physics, driving cars around, zombies, can keep quite a few players entertained. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, if you think my game is too shallow, or if it's like too boring, you really never know. There's so many millions of players out there. I would say just release a version of it out there, get some feedback. Maybe it hits a certain niche and people like it, and then you can make it into some kind of success. That's actually all I have. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. If you have any questions, everything is open, all the data. I'm happy to show it to you. One question over there.
The thing is on. Okay. So yes, thank you for the talk and for the panel. My question at first, I don't know if I missed some things, but when I got it right, this game is about crashing people and zombies.
So it's a sandbox in the sense that there isn't really a goal, right? The game doesn't give you missions, doesn't tell you do this, do that. So you can drive around in the city, you can run people over if you want.
Okay.
You can kill the zombies if you want.
Okay, it's to be happy with violence, yes? So
yeah, you could say that. So you make your own goals and fun in the game. So
okay, I just ask a little provocating.
Sure, of course.
Because it's not enough for Tarantino, so it's less blood in this game, and so it's a question. You want to implement blood in there, and what's about the FSK? That's my and the ethics, ethic in German. And my second question is, I can imagine that it will be fun for a lot of people, or the smaller people about 12 years old. So maybe without blood it will be better, this game. And the second question would be, do you earn enough money to pay your rent with it?
Good questions, thank you. First one was about blood. I made a Discord channel for the game. It turned out to be more hassle than it's worth, to be honest. All these kids getting on there, putting obscenities that I have to delete later. But the point I'm trying to make is, what is the point I'm trying to make? Yeah, I made a channel for suggestions, and lots of people said, please add blood to the game, please add this to the game, that to the game. I didn't bother, to be honest, because when you add blood, when I even didn't add blood particle effects, but one of the zombies had some blood in its texture, Apple App Store said like, oh, you can't have this, etc., etc. So I didn't bother with adding blood to the game, more guns, this and that. It's all possible, of course, but I always think about how much effort is it going to cost me, what is it going to bring as a result of it, and yeah, a lot of things I didn't add to the game like that. Around the ethics of it, yeah, lots of young kids do play it, from what I can tell, from the way they talk on the Discord channel. I'm not super proud of like the ethics of the game, so to speak. I'm proud that like I made this thing and it got a lot of downloads, etc. But I don't think I'm contributing to world peace with this game. So I'll say that outright, absolutely. And the last question was? Oh, right. Did I pay my rent? Yeah. I was able to, I am able to pay my rent with this, pretty much. I mean, it's like 30,000 over 2.5 years, kind of. But it's not some amazing success. The thing is, it's, as I said, like if it's 2.5 years, but full-time, if you compare it to full-time work, it was like 4 or 5 months of full-time work. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's a good, great success. Thank you for your answers.
Sure, of course.
Thank you.
Here's one question.
So thank you for all informations. So I will ask you about what is the secret for ranking your game. I know that's App Store optimization, that's good, but I think did you not use the Google AdWords or something, or so I think you have good traffic. So I think you use just the icons and the good graphics in screenshot. So this is the most important. But so can you give me please the information about ranking games?
Right. As I said, I don't really. I feel like I got lucky, and I don't know exactly what contributed to the good organic traffic that I get. Like as I said, as you also said, good icon, good screenshots, and good description. I mean, the text, the description, the part that is indexed by the app stores is a little bit different on iOS and Android. And if you talk to ASO experts, they will tell you, oh, you want to include these keywords. They do like competitor analysis. Include these keywords, don't include these, etc. They can write a whole bunch of gibberish in the description just to make it get better results, organic on the search. But as I said, I tried that and it didn't work out. I tried to write a decent description that's not gibberish, that talks about what features the game has, and it worked out. But as I said, there's no secret that I can give you, really. If I had it, I would, because I want to share all the information, but what you see is what I did, and I don't know what exactly contributed that much to the success. Yeah. Question here? Over here?
Thank you. Two questions. One, why no release on Steam or such platform? And the second question, what is your next step? Will you continue working on this project, or will you do a similar project on a similar scale, or what's your next step? I'm curious.
Thank you. Steam, I actually paid the developer fee to get access to Steam, and I was thinking of releasing it on Steam, but for Steam, it's such a shallow game that I think if I charged anything, even $1 or $2, a lot of people would give really negative reviews. I would say, saying, okay, there isn't that much to do in the game. I think it passes for mobile and for WebGL. I don't think the game would pass necessarily for Steam, unless I put a lot of more effort into it, implemented a lot of things. I had a lot of ideas, implement quests, implement multiplayer, implement this and that, but as a solo developer, also juggling other things, being a parent, freelance job, I didn't have that much time to do it, so that's why I didn't go to Steam. One thing I did consider, and I did experiment a little bit, is porting it to VR, because in VR, even though there are lots of popular apps, there isn't some sandboxy thing like this in a city environment. There's other sandbox stuff like Boneworks and other things, but I could see it working on the Oculus Quest, for example, and I tested it, and it was working okay, but it's a lot of effort for unknown reward, so I didn't finish it. As for next steps, I don't know how much longer I work on this game. I had some other projects I tried, other prototypes I have. I don't know, to be honest, what the next step is, so yeah. I have a bunch of ideas, but nothing that made it to this level where I released it and got some good reception to it. One thing that I did that I was very proud of, the first project I worked on after I quit InnoGames is, there's a really old MMO called Ultima Online, some of you might know about it. I made a mobile client for it, so someone made a C# based client for it, I brought their code into Unity and brought it to mobile, so now you can play Ultima Online on mobile, which was what I was very proud of, and my hope was that... Sorry? Nerede? Touchscreen? Ah, okay. He's asking how the hell does that game work on touchscreen? It's an old MMO, so it's very weird. But I added the same joystick that you see in this game to move your character around, and it's a bit finicky. But in the end, it worked quite well enough that a lot of people told me, "Oh, thank you so much. It lets me play this game that I love on the go with my Samsung device connected to this monitor." With a keyboard, Bluetooth keyboard, and so on. So I'm happy that I was able to give it to people because it's an open source project. But my hope financially was to make a Patreon and then get some support from people, from shard owners, server owners, to support that project. But that never materialized. It was only like 80 euros a month. So I stopped the project, but it's all open source. Anyone can take it and continue working on it. So yeah. Question here?
Hi. So my question is about the Play Store experiments. Because we also have a game on the Play Store. It's not working that well, and yet. So my question is, for the traffic, you need to have a big traffic before already starting the experiments, right? Or how does it compare? Did you have a lot of traffic before that?
Right.
Did it,
yeah.
Better by a lot?
Exactly. Yeah. I had decent traffic before, and after doing the experiments, I got like a 10-20% uplift on certain experiments. So that helped, and as you said, if you don't have much traffic, if you have like 10 people downloading it per day, then running some experiment probably won't give you good data. But Google helps you in that regard, where they have a confidence interval where they say, okay, if you run the experiment for so long, now we're confident enough that you're going to get a 10% increase on your store acquisitions if you apply this change, for example. So that's one thing you can... It helps you a little bit to know when is the right time to trust the results of the experiment. But you do need some traffic, and for that you could pay for ads to get some traffic, but of course, organic traffic, as far as I know, behaves differently than paid for ad traffic. So that's a little problematic.
Thank you. So my question was is about outsourcing. So you mentioned that you outsource some of the tasks. So what I would like to ask, how did it work to outsource something that you could have done, like by yourself, so you know have enough knowledge and skills? And if it was, how did you like manage the work when you're working on indie games that spending all this time for explaining, checking the work, explaining again, debugging with this person, especially if it's not expensive person? How did it work out?
Right. I work with 3 freelancers on Upwork. I found 3 guys. I gave each one a test task to see how they did. One of it was not good. The 2 others were good enough. One guy was from Spain. He did quite good work. I think it all comes down to, like you said, if you have the skills to do it yourself and you want to give this job to someone else, it's a matter of can they do it for the money that you spend. Is it worthwhile to do it? Can they do it fast enough with enough without requiring too much supervision and micromanagement, right? So for a couple of the features that I asked these people to do, they were able to take it to 90% of the way there, and then I said, okay, good job. Then I took it and changed a few things around, finished the rest of the 10%, and then was able to put it as a feature into the game. As for how I organized it, I found them on Upwork. Then I created a Trello board where I just wrote out a spec for it. I didn't go crazy like make a Jira board and epics and so on and so forth, just a simple Trello board that I added them to share the tasks with, checked in with them every once in a while. That was basically it. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much.